Yes, hello everyone. You're all very welcome back here to another video here on Clear with me, Séamus Brady, your host. I'm joined by Luke Peyton once again and Matthew Hurley, the Gaelic Statsman. We have a hell of a lot of club action to look forward to on this weekend. A lot of county finals, a lot of big semi-finals, but just in general, lads, a cracking weekend of action to look forward to. Matthew, I'll start with yourself. Obviously, we're at the final game of the Cork Club Championships, now the Cork Senior Football Final between Castlehaven and Nemo Rangers. What are you making of the club championship in general up to this point?
Yeah, it's been an interesting one. Thanks for having me on, Séamus, on your channel today. Yeah, it's an interesting enough club championship in Cork down here. Probably the same sides that you'd expect in the semi-final, Castlehaven, the Bars, Nemo, along with Duhallow. So it was probably the most predictable club championship in the country, whereas other club championships were very, very unexpected at times. Like Brafey, I'm excited to see them, and I may find this weekend against Ballinasloe Stephenites. You look at Kilmacud going out of Dublin so early, like the hurling champions. Like, it's unusual in that kind of sense. Blessington going to a replay in Wicklow. There's a load of stories going on around the country, not just in senior championships, but intermediate as well. I see Johnny Doyle won an intermediate championship in Kildare with his club Allenwood at the age of 45, which is an incredible story. So, yeah, brilliant stories up and down the country. There's obviously a few bad stories here or there. I know which one I'm going to talk about there, but you know, it's an exciting enough club championship up and down the country. And yeah, I'm sure you're excited about the Dublin final at the weekend. And obviously, I'm excited about the Cork final on Sunday too.
That's it. And Luke, I'll just get your general thoughts as well as a Dublin senior hurling fan, as a Dublin football fan. What have you made of the Dublin championships up to this point?
Yeah, look, I think, again, look, the football last week, I think, was a real interesting one. And I know you've given the preview on a slightly as well, but like, again, going into that game, I was really, really sure that Ballybowden were gonna come trumps there. I just thought that Ballybowden looked to be the business this year. Even seeing the interview before the start of the game, I thought it was really interesting, where the Ballybowden manager saying how they hadn't been tested so far yet this year, and it kind of came back to bite them a little bit, because Jesus, there was some counter-attacking performance with Kilmacud last week. Like, I thought they really, really packed the defence and then broke at speed. But yeah, football championship was pretty good. The hurling as well was kind of interesting too. Like, it's a tough game to call at the weekend now. I think we'll probably go straight into the Dublin game now, I know, in a minute, but it is a tough one to call, because like, you look at the start of the championship, you knew Donald Burke would be out for the entire thing. You knew that there's talks he's back running, but there's no way he'd be back for this, and I'd say he wouldn't be back for a Leinster either, is what the talk is. So at the start, you're thinking huge loss there as well, but you still look at Na Fianna's team, and if you look at the full forward line straight away, you've got the two Currys, AJ Murphy, you've Shane Barrett's playing up in the forwards as well. Like, that's a pretty serious club side. You've Liam Rush in there as well too. Like, and they were really, really impressive in their semi-final as well. They absolutely blitzed their semi-final. So, like, going in there, I think it's looking good for Na Fianna. Like, they overcame Lucan, who were probably absolutely flying, whereas then in the other semi, Bowden were my early shouts for it this year. That some nice young players mixed in with the older players too. That they're my early pick for Dublin. But as the tournament's gone on, and based off semi-final performances, Bowden looks a little bit more stuck in the ground in comparison to Na Fianna, who just look pretty sharp. And I think, look, they're overdue. I think they're overdue a Leinster. And it's mad to think that the year that they could do it would be the year without Donald Burke.
Yeah, very, very true. And that is the first one that we're going to look at. So we have a lot of finals, I think is the best way to put it, to go through. We're going to start with the Dublin Senior 1 hurling final between Na Fianna and Ballybowden St. Enders. And now, before we do dive deeper into this, obviously been privileged enough to do a bit of work myself with Dublin this year, made this promo. And, well, you get the exclusive first look at it, lads, because I don't think it's gone up yet, but here it is.
Weekend in the go-ahead Dublin Senior 1 Hurling Championship 2023. In the red corner we have Na Fianna, looking for their first ever Dublin Senior Hurling title. They have reached the last two finals, losing heartbreakingly on both occasions. This year they mean business, and with back-to-back wins over Kilmacud Crokes and Lucan Sarsfields, their tails are up heading into this final. In the blue corner, it's a club who is steeped in Dublin hurling history, Ballybowden St Enda's. Bowden are coming into this final off back-to-back wins over Coola and St Vincent's, with the last one being a dramatic finale in Parnell Park. Na Fianna are hoping it's third time lucky and that they can win their first ever Dublin Hurling Championship. While for Bowden, they are looking to reclaim the Dublin Hurling throne for the first time since 2018. It all goes down this weekend. Get your tickets now on dublingaa.ie.
Okay, so general thoughts on that, Matthew. Obviously, we have, as specified in the promo, Na Fianna looking for their first ever Dublin senior title. They're off the back of 2 final defeats. Ballybowden looking to get back to the top of the mountain for the first time since 2018. It is their first final since 2020.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, a very good promo, by the way, Séamus. It's great that a content creator around this sort of area is going on to bigger and better things. So, fair play to you for that. That was a brilliant promo, I have to say. So, well done to you. Secondly, yeah, it's going to be an interesting final by the looks of things, and it's going to be live on RT on Sunday as well, which should be interesting in its own right. Probably the first time ever a club game is shown on RT on a Sunday, which I don't know, is that actually a fact now, but it could be. But yeah, as Luke specified earlier, Na Fianna have some excellent players. Donald Burke obviously out, and he would have been synonymous with the Na Fianna team over the last few years, and he would have said that he is one player that needs to win a Dublin Senior Hurling Championship. But as Luke said as well, it'd be just ironic if Na Fianna were to do it without Donald Burke in the team. Their talisman, their leader, their everything, really. The two Currys, I'm really a fan of them, especially Sean. I seen him in the Dublin final a few years ago. I think it was against Kilmacud. He scored like 5 or 6 points that night from play, which was an incredible scoring tally from him. AJ Murphy's another player who scored 4 points in the last game against Lucas Sarsfield. Liam Rush is another one that, like, he has definitely improved Na Fianna for the better. He's an incredible hurler. He has been over the last few years. Probably slowed down a bit with Dublin over the last few seasons. Like, he had reached some peak heights in 2013, especially when they won the Leinster title. But he's definitely still a very, very good player for Na Fianna, and they have excellent players all over the field. But you look at Ballybowden, obviously, as you mentioned in the promo there, looking for their first Dublin title since 2018. Like, you look at Ballybowden, they're probably more steeped in history than Na Fianna are in the hurling, and that does count for a load. And you look at Ballybowden, like Aaron was talking to me earlier in the week about the two sides in general. Ballybowden obviously lost the football last week. Not many of their players are dual, which does help in sort of a way. It gives the players, motivation that they say the footballers didn't do it. The hurlers can do it now this weekend. So, and as you mentioned earlier as well against Vincent's, and dramatically a win for them. So, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting find. Another very good player in the Ballybowden team, and he doesn't have intercounty commitments now. Paul Ryan, I've been a fan of him over the last few years as well. Excellent free taker, and if Na Fianna give him any free around the pitch, he's going to nail it. So it's going to be an interesting final. I'd probably tip Na Fianna because of the players that they have, even though Donald Burke and, the tendency there that Kilmacud aren't there in the final this year. There's a big chance for them to go on and lift that Dublin Cup this season without them. So, yeah, it's all on the line. But having said that, I know Na Fianna beat Kilmacud, but Ballybowden beat Coola, a team that won All-Irelands recently as well, with Conor O'Callaghan around that panel. So, like, they've both beaten some heavy hitters en route to the final. It's going to be an interesting day.
No, without doubt. And when you look at previous clashes, Na Fianna beat Ballybowden in the championship group stage, but Ballybowden pretty handedly beat Na Fianna in the hurling league. So both teams have had big wins over each other. And Luke, like, speaking about experience there, Matthew mentioned Paul Ryan, and for me, he was always a hot streak type of player. That if Paul Ryan was on it, he would score like at will. But sometimes when he was off it, he wasn't on his A game. That type of player can be really dangerous going into a game like this. Conal Keeney is another one. He's still there. He came off the bench against St. Vincent's, played a big role in helping the team get over the line. You've got other players like Simon Lambert is still there. Shane Durkin is still there. These are players with huge experience of winning Dublin hurling finals, whereas Na Fianna on the other side, they only have experience of falling short in the dying seconds as well in Dublin hurling finals. And my point is Luke, if Bowden can hold them for 50 minutes, like, will Nafina get nervous? And then will that completely put it in favour of Bowden?
Yeah, look, and that is the big question. And like, I think that is the real test is like you listed that Nafina full forward line that they've been absolutely on fire lately and stuff too. Do they, when they come up against a tight Ballybowden defence that don't give up that many scores, like do they like have what it takes on the day of the final? I think on paper, I think if this was like just a regular championship game, I think Nafina definitely do win it. There is a bit of a hoodoo over Nafina though as well, and you see like they've like you talk about some of those previous finals, like how they've managed to knock it over the line, and some of them is really surprising. Like, and particularly that Kilmacud game you already mentioned, there's no way that they should have lost that game. I think there were something about 5 up into injury time, and they managed to snatch the defeat from the jaws of victory in that one. So like I think if Nafina can get this monkey off their back, they can win. They can go on and win plenty of Dublin championships because they definitely have the players there. Some really nice players too, but I think it's a great point you make about Bowden's experience. Another one, Niall McMorrow is another one in there as well. He's the ultimate kind of club player too, still notches up scores the whole time too. You add in as well Simon Lambert's younger brother's there beside him in the half-back line. He's having a great year. I think he could be involved with the Dubs maybe next year. Luke McDwyer, Christie in there as well around centre forward. There's some serious players in Bowden. Tough in the call. I think I'm gonna take out the final hoodoo thing and say, look, I think Nafina have been playing better. They look fitter. They're in the best shape I've seen them. I watched their last day out and they were pretty dominant over Lucan. So I'm gonna say Nafina, but yeah, like I think it does come down to if they have overcame that mental hurdle that they seem to have had in recent years.
I agree. I think it's their time. I think that it should have been their time 2 years ago. I think everything seems to be coming together for them that day. And while you look at it, which is funny, is watching it back, people at the time were saying they were underdogs. On paper, they had a better team than Kilmuckle Crokes. You cannot change my mind on that. They had Donald Burke, the Curry brothers, AJ Murphy, Liam Rush, Shane Barrett. Like, Crokes weren't as strong as people think they were. And the fact that they got knocked out immediately by Clock Balacolla from Laois sums that up. And then if you move further than last year, like they didn't turn up in the final. This time, though, they definitely seem to have got it right. Against Lucan Sarsfields, they didn't play their best, but they didn't need to. And I think they have a huge amount of power around the half-forward line with Shane Barrett and John Tierney and players like that. And in the forwards, they've got AJ Murphy, who, in my opinion, just has to be in the Dublin team next year. And not even in the panel, like starting. He has to be starting. Because Sean Curry is another one who's been banging on the door, can't really do much more to get into the Dublin team, but still somehow can't find a place. So those guys definitely deserve a shout because they are the best forwards on what, in my opinion, now has clearly been the best team. But interestingly, so I am going to go for Nafina. I am going to go for them to finally get this. I am going to go for them to make it third time lucky. I think they'll just about get over Bowden. And then I think that'd be quite difficult to stop because I agree with Luke. I think the age profile of their team, I think they're set up for 2, 3, 4 in a row. Honestly, if they can get this right, if they can really get the monkey off the back in this one. But I am going to add a caveat to my prediction. I think Nafina will either win relatively comfortably or if it's tight going down into the final few minutes, I think Bowden take it. Matthew, what do you think?
Two of you said Nafina. I'm going to put cat amongst the pigeons. I'm going to go Bowden. I just think the experience there is going to be big. And like Donald Burke, without him, maybe this is the day where Nafina kind of regret that they're without him. And Ballybowden have their free taker and Paul Ryan. He could be a big difference on the day. And Bowden, there might be a confidence there to say that the footballers didn't do it last weekend. We could do it this weekend and right the wrongs. But it'd be quite unusual, really, for them to lose 2 finals in the space of a week. It really would. So I'm going to say Bowden to go on and win. Maybe it's because
to the same
maybe
team.
So. Yeah, maybe so. But they can't do it 2 years in a row, can they? They really can't. So yeah, I'm going to go for a Bowden win. Maybe it's because 2v said Nafina. I just want to say something different to spice it up a bit. But there's my prediction.
No, very good. Well, so 2 for Nafina, 1 for Bowden. It'll be a very interesting final anyway. Make sure to check that out. That is live and for free on Dubs TV as well. Now, we're going from our field right into Matthew's field. The Cork Senior Football Final is also on this weekend. Castlehaven against Nemo Rangers. So obviously, a big absentee Matthew, right off the bat there, obviously St. Finbar is knocked out before it even gets to the final this time. And I mean, out of the championship, is this the two that you would have paired in the final, or are you surprised the Finbars aren't here?
Really surprised Finbars aren't here, to be honest with you. Like, they looked very, very good, even in the group stage. They hammered Mallow, they hammered Michaels eventually after a slow start, hammered Douglas. They were thinking, okay, they're going to be true contenders for the All-Ireland once they get out of Cork again. But Castlehaven, they had the tendency, like, that was the fourth time in 4 years that Castlehaven and Finbars reached the semi-final and met each other. And Castlehaven would have won one of those games, and Finbars would have won two. So Haven wanted to even the score. They wanted to get their win. And the Haven just wanted it more on that day. Jack Callan got a goal after, I think, 14 seconds or around that. And that set the tone for the whole game. And the Bars didn't come back from that. They only 3 different scores against Castlehaven: Brian Hayes, Ethan Toomey, and Stephen Sherlock, which really isn't good enough. The Haven has some firepower. Like, you would have probably said the two best teams in the county would have been the Haven and the Bars, looking at it from player to player. Because I know the Bars have brilliant players. They challenged Kilcoo all the way a few seasons ago. But the Haven themselves are very good players. Like Roy Maguire, up for an All-Star nominee with Cork, is at fullback. You have Brian Hurley, you have Michael Hurley. You have the Callan brothers, who, to be honest, if they didn't play hurling, would probably play football. Damien at centre-back is an incredible footballer. Conor Callan, very underrated at midfield. Jack Callan has really stamped his authority on this championship, even as a young player. You look at Michael Hurley, for example. Like, he didn't play with the Cork seniors this year, but he's concentrated fully on the club, and he's done absolutely outstanding. I think he scored like 7 points in the semi-final against the Bars, hitting, I think, all of them over the bar nearly. So he was in absolutely incredible form. And James McCarthy has this team down to a T, really. Having said that, Castlehaven probably have grew their way into the championship. Like, the first day out, they drew against Carbery Rangers, which was a poor result for them. Valley Rovers, they squeaked past them over the line. But then, once they beat Clonakilty 116-114, they kind of set their championship alight from there. Against Ballincollig, they were outstanding in the first half. Then the semi-final against the Bars, obviously, an excellent result. So you would say, on form, Castlehaven would be the favourites. But Nemo, they are the final aristocrats. And we talk about the Dublin hurling final. Ballyboden have the history, and the Fianna don't. It's like that in Cork as well. Castlehaven don't necessarily have the history. They have 2 Cork senior championships to their name, as far as I know, in 2013 and 2012. Nemo are just, they are steady lads. They will get the job done whenever it takes. Like, they were underdogs last year against the Bars. They somehow got that out of the bag and won it. And Nemo have not been convincing in this championship. They beat Ballincollig the first day quite handily. Then they struggled against Éire Óg. They struggled against Carrigaline, a team that got relegated. And then the quarterfinal, they only beat Clonakilty by 5 points to 4, albeit that was on a pitch which looked like a swimming pool, but enough about that, to be honest with you. The semi-final against Duhallow, they weren't that good, but they needed Luke Connolly. He scored 2 goals and 3 points in that game. But even Connolly, other than that semi-final, hasn't been himself this Cork Championship. Like, the first game, he was out because his sister Megan was at the Soccer World Cup with Ireland down in Australia, so he went over to support her for the first game. Ever since then, he probably hasn't been the same footballer. He definitely regained that form in the semi-final. It'll be interesting to see who picks him up now in the final. Will Rory Maguire pick him up? Will Damien Callan pick him up? Like, Castlehaven have that tendency. They have the defenders to pick up whoever they want nearly, because they have excellent defenders around that area. It's going to be a very interesting final. It really is. It's a tough one to call. Like, I'll put it this way. If you're saying it by quality, Castlehaven have the numbers and the players to do it. If you're saying it by history and a tendency to get over the line no matter what, Nemo are the team. And it's going to be very interesting to see how it transpires on Sunday. It should be a very interesting game.
Yeah, no, very, very well sold. Luke, like, your thoughts on that? I mean, you're looking at this. I have to say, from flicking through the teams, obviously, big shout out to you, Matthew. I'm looking at your Instagram right now, looking at the post of Nemo and Castlehaven. I have to say, going player for player, I do prefer the team that Castlehaven have. Like Rory Maguire, Mark Collins, the Hurley brothers, the Callan brothers. Like, that's a hell of a pick. Whereas Nemo, like, they have some cracking players, don't get me wrong. Mark Cronin, Luke Connolly can shoot the lights out on his day, but he is very inconsistent. Kevin O'Donovan, I rate him a lot. Barry O'Driscoll. Alan O'Donovan is a very good club player as well. But Paul Kerrigan is still one of the most relied on forwards. And, like, Paul Kerrigan now, how long has he been playing? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a testament to how good he is that he's still going strong at this level. But I think Matthew put it perfectly, Luke. Like when you think about who probably has the more raw talent on the team, Castlehaven probably do, but Nemo have the most All-Ireland club titles in history as well with 7. And they do seem to find a way to get over the line. Like last year, nobody saw them beating Finbars, and yet they did. So what are you kind of thinking going into this final?
Yeah, look, I think it's similar to so many of the club championships around the country, in that there's this narrative of there's always the rebels each year, and then coming up against the Empire, I suppose, that are like the force that are seem to always win it. They always have this kind of thing that they're like, that they know how to grind out championships, and Nemo have always had that reputation. And you talk about the final last year as well, it was probably a bit of that too, that like Nemo probably weren't fancied the last couple of times they've been there, that they've come up against all these fancier teams who've had all the young Cork inter-county players coming through as well, but they can still grind out results. And now look, I completely take the point. When you look at who the players are and the personnel there, you're saying if that game's played in paper, Castlehaven should be winning it. But look, I think you look, Castlehaven haven't really got over the line in recent years. They haven't fully gone on to represent Cork at all. They haven't got the job done as well. And like, it's so many similar championships you can look across the country as well, where there's these teams that come through. They've all the players, they've all the personnel, but yet you still see the same couple of teams that end up playing in Munster each year, because they're the teams that know how to win those finals. And that's, again, it's the exact same thing that we're talking about with the Dublin final, is do you go experience, or do you go with a team that you think is playing a little bit better and has the thing too? And yeah, look, Matthew, I think, sums up pretty perfectly on the roads to the finals. You look at the roads to the final, that you can probably say Castlehaven, based off that, are looking like they're peaking at the right time. But the same thing as well, it's the exact same situation, I think, with Nafina and Bowden, that if you apply that to there as well, who are you going with? Again, I like the Castlehaven players team, and I think if you look list the players that you've mentioned there as well, even if you just say the 2 Hurleys and Mark Collins, like, you just think scores, and you just think like that team scoring. You add in Catalan as well. Well, Jack Catalan in particular for scores. Conor Catalan chips in with a few from midfield too as well. So like, I think with that, you're just thinking scores. You look at Nemo previously as well, not scoring as much. I think when you're looking at that in tight margin games, who looks like they'll be the bigger scoring team of the day would be usually the team that I go with as well. If you look like you can't stop them defensively, that's the team I go with. So I'd lean Castlehaven for that reason.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going Castlehaven to take it. I think their firepower will get them over the line. Matthew, are you going to go against us again, or what do you think?
Funny, I actually am. I've said this over the past few weeks. Like, I know at Castlehaven, I take your point, have outstanding players all over the team. I think ultimately, I think Castlehaven would be better representing Cork and Munster than Nemo would. I think Castlehaven would have a very good Munster championship. Maybe against Dingle, they could come up short, but they would do well in other games. But Nemo, at this stage, their final record is absolutely incredible. You know, it's just unmatched. You look at the game against the Bars last year, they faced Castlehaven in the final in 2020, did a late final that was played in 2021, and Nemo absolutely slaughtered Castlehaven that day. So, like, Nemo have the numbers to get over the line. And I think Nemo and Castlehaven met in the 2015 county final. Castlehaven were going in raging favourites with the likes of Brian. This was Brian Hurley at his peak early in 2015, and Castlehaven still didn't get over the line. Nemo still had the nous to get over it. Funnily enough, with Castlehaven, I know you mentioned scores, Luke. Mark Collins is actually a halfback this year, which I actually don't know what's the thinking behind that with James McCarthy, but maybe it's to accommodate all these brilliant players. With Nemo, like, Kerrigan usually is a bench player. He comes on towards the end of it. And I think when you're talking about players getting tired, he's probably the right man to come on, because he'll calm the thing down, he'll calm the play down, and he will get Nemo over the line because of that. But I will say, I think Nemo will win this final, but if Nemo get over the line, I think they'll struggle to beat Cratloe in the Munster Championship. I really think so. They struggled to beat Clonmel Commercials last year, and it probably be the same this year. But to answer your question there, Séamus, I think Castlehaven have the players, they have the better team, they have the better team to go on in Munster, but I think Nemo have the final temperament to get over the line, and that's why I'm tipping Nemo to go on and win it.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really argue with that too much. It's a man who knows a hell of a lot more about Cork football than myself or Luke do. But this next one, so we got 2 for Castlehaven and 1 for Nemo Rangers. We'll see what happens on the weekend. We got then a next one, and the next one I'm very interested in is the Limerick Senior Hurling Final. So this is going to be between the Piercig and Patrick Swell. And Luke, I'll come to you for this first. You've got the Piercig on one hand, the defending Limerick champions, who battled through in that Limerick semi-final and have some outstanding players like Peter Casey, Mike Casey, Jerome Boylan, William O'Donoghue, and then Patrick Swell, on the other hand, who have had 3 of the best players in the country for the last 5 years, you could argue, and Aaron Gallant, Diarmaid Burns and Cian Lynch. And this year, they seem to have got it as right as they've ever got it by making it to the final. And they did sweep past Kilmallock in that semi-final to set up a mouth-watering final.
Yeah, look, this is the game I'm looking forward to most the weekend. I just think this one's so hard to call. You mentioned Will O'Donoghue, he'll be out the weekend, and that's an absolutely huge loss now. That I think I've seen a picture recently. He's still in the boot anyway, like that, so he'll be out. Like you look at the results in the semi-final, was that I was really surprised with the 2 semi-finals. I thought, like, first of all, Doon brought the Piercig to extra time and probably should have beaten them as well. And then you see in the penalties where Shane Dowland saves 4 penalties. And I think, but I was surprised by that. I thought the Piercig would have had a bit too much for Doon, even though Doon are a really good coming side. And then the other side of it, where Kilmallock, who would look really good in the championship so far, were absolutely blitzed by Patrick Swell. Like, despite earlier in the championship where Patrick Swell kind of shipped some beatings as well earlier on in the championship. So it does look like Patrick Swell are peaking at the right time. Aaron Gallant, like, was absolutely untouchable against Kilmallock. It's going to be a really interesting one as well. There's like straight up, Mike Casey's going straight up on Gallant, like, which is as appetizing that it gets. And then, like, there's going to be some other really, really tasty matchups in there as well. So, like, it's gonna be very, very interesting. That, like, I think a lot of the narrative about it, again, like, I think the fact that we've got into the stage here with 3 of the finals. I know Patrick will have got over the line a little bit, but they have seemed to struggle with Piercig a little bit too, though. Like, Piercig do seem to have a bit of a thing over Patrick Swell, that in the last couple of years that they do seem to kind of find a way to get over the line. And I do think Piercig probably, like, well, they definitely are the better rounded side. But you think about it as well, they don't have maybe the flasher inter-county players, but Ronan Lynch at club level is still as good as it gets. Like, you have the full forward line, Adrian Breen, Peter Casey, we all know, and Will Henn as well. Like, that's just a really, really good, prolific full forward line there too. David Dempsey, who's been in around before, Alan Dempsey as well. There's just some really, really top players. Connor Boylan as well, of course, who's been playing for Limerick too. That's just a really solid side. Very, very hard game to call this the weekend, because you're going firepower versus like a pretty equal 15, and I'm gonna maybe go with the well-oiled machine, the Piercig, to squeak it out maybe as well, and just say that Mike Casey will do as good as anyone can on Gallant. And look, I'm sure they'll have a plan probably for Cian Lynch too. Maybe Ronan Lynch is picking up him too. So yeah, I'm gonna lean the Piercig, but I wouldn't be confident with that at all.
Yeah, no, I get you. And, you know, by holding to Gallant to as little as anyone can, I'm guessing that means Aaron Gallant scores a goal in 12. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, you did mention, and that's a good point, about Patrick Swell's record against Piercig, and that Piercig do seem to have the upper hand. But Matthew, at the same time, what a time it would be for Patrick Swell to break that.
It would be, yeah. And it was great, actually. Luke had a bit of a false sense of hope for Patrick Swell there. He was saying well-oiled machine, and he went for the Piercig at the end. So well done, Luke, for kind of annoying the whole parish of Patrick Swell there. So well done. But yeah, like, it's an interesting find. It really is. I've kept an eye on the Limerick Championship over this year. Obviously, I go to college in Limerick. I work for the Limerick Voice now. This year, UL student paper. So yeah, it's 2 interesting teams, I have to say. The Piercig, I watched them in the semi-final against Doon, and I agree with Luke completely. Doon absolutely deserved to win the game, but the Piercig, probably their experience got them over the line in the end. And what's interesting with the Piercig team, Shane Dowling's in goal, which I don't think we've ever seen over the last. Maybe he's a goal for underage games, under 15s or under 13s or whatever, but we've never seen him in goal for the senior team. So that's incredible in its own right. But William O'Donoghue's a huge miss. I know he's in the backroom team somewhat. I've seen him galling up the players somewhat against Doon and trying to get them over the line on the sideline. But obviously, like, that's not the same as him being on the pitch. You look at Ronan Inge is a key player for them from place balls. You look at Peter Casey. Adrian Breen is a key guy to get goals. I think he scored 4 goals in the Limerick Championship this championship season, which is an incredible record. He scored 4 goals and 13 points from play. So, like, the Pearshig have the experience to get over the line, but as you mentioned there, Patrick's well at the players, and Aaron Gannon especially. Like, what more can you say about this guy? 7 goals and 45 points in the Limerick Championship. He's taken his form from the Limerick team into this county championship. He's been absolutely outstanding. And that's 7 goals. I think that's 6 goals and 11 points from play. That's 7 goals. That's an average of a goal a game. That's just scary from Aaron Gannon, really. Dermot Burns with 21 points, Cian Lynch 211. Even other lads are chipping in, like Jordan Higgins with 2-9, John Kirby 3-6. So there are some players for Patrick Swell that still the Pearshig have to keep an eye on without the big three. But having Cian Lynch back to full fitness is going to be key for Patrick Swell. It really is. And they dismantled Kilmallock in that semi-final by 10 points. And that was a Kilmallock team that beat Patrick Swell in the group stage, let's not forget as well. So, like, it's like that's some bounce back ability. And actually, talking about the group stage, Patrick Swell and the Pearshig actually met in that group stage. Patrick Swell won by 2 points, 215 to 116. So that was an incredible game in its own right. The Pearshig probably have the revenge at the back of their minds to go on and win this final. But Patrick Swell, even after that win on the first day out, still didn't manage an automatic semi-final spot. So they struggled in other games, but they managed to beat the Pearshig. You wonder, is that a sign that Patrick Swell have the Pearshig's number? You never know with these finals, but if I was to call it, I'd probably go Patrick Swell to just I know they don't have the history, but I just feel the Pearshig are kind of waning a bit. Like, they were lucky to get over the line against Doon, whereas Patrick Swell were absolutely dominant in their semi-final against Kilmallock, with Aaron Gallan being to the fore with 112 on the day. So I'd back Patrick Swell to win this final, but it'll be very, very tight and a very good game, I'd imagine, live on TG Carr on Saturday evening.
You know what? I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with Patrick Swell as well. Luke, sorry, but I've switched sides. I'm going with Matthew now. I think Patrick Swell are going to win it. I think if you look at the semi-finals, the way that Patrick Swell beat Kilmallock was far more impressive than the way that Pearshig beat Doon. Look, Doon are a fantastic side. Don't get me wrong. They have the likes of Darragh O'Donovan and Adam English in there running the show. But I am going to slightly lean towards Patrick Swell. I think those 3 are too good to not win one. Like, they're too good to not win when you've got 3 hurler of the years in there, for God's sake. Like, surely they get their time. And I am, by the way, including Gillan as the guy who, in my opinion, was the hurler of the year this year. But yeah, we're going to move on then to the next one. The Derry Senior Football Final. That's also on this weekend. Waddy Glen against O'Donovan Rossa, Mahara Felt. Now, obviously, lads, straight off the back, Waddy Glen are the favourites. I'll come to you, Matthew, first for this one. They're the favourites, Waddy Glen. They beat Slough-Neil. Surely nobody can stop them, right? But then again, you look at it on the other side, they've been on the road now for a long time. And I'm not just talking about them as a club. I'm talking about their best players, like the Conor Glasses and I'm talking about the Michael Warnocks and the Emmett Bradleys. Key players like that and the Ethan Dohertys, like, they've been on the road a long time. And talking Glen, back into Derry, back into Glen, back into Derry again, back into Glen again. And just maybe will they be caught by Marafelt?
Maybe so, but I actually feel this is the first game where all 3 of us are going to go with the same prediction. Because no offence to O'Donovan Ross and Marafelt, they've done well to get to this stage of the semi-final. They beat Sean O'Leary's by 12 points to 2. Which was just a weird scoreline. I don't know how you score 2 points in a game of football. Maybe the weather was a key factor in that too. But even look at Barrafeld's team. Like, Dan Higgins in midfield is a good underage player, but he's improving at senior. Danny Heavern has been around the block for a few years, I'm sure. Conor McCluskey at centre-back is really a player that needs to step up in this final if Barrafelds are going to get over the line in this. But other than Conor McCluskey, is there any guys to really step off the page? Like, okay, Owen Lynch and goal is another one. But other than that, I don't think Macrofeds have any players of significance. And you look at Watty Glen, they got over the line against Slough-Neil, a low-scoring game. I will say that, 1-5 to 6 points, but they got over the line against a very, very good Slough-Neil team. And we talk about Patrick Swell having 3 hurler of the years. Shotleigh may as well have 3 footballer of the years in their team as well with Shane McGuigan. I know they don't, but they may as well with the quality of players they have in Shane McGuigan, Christy McKagan, Brendan Rodgers. So that to get over them was absolutely incredible from Watty Graham's game point of view. And interesting as well, I don't know what you could buy into this, but I looked at the Paddy Power odds for the All-Ireland Club Championship, and the slight favourites for that are Watty Graham's Glen. Kilmacud are not the favourites anymore. That's quite interesting. So, like, is there pressure with this Watty Graham's Glen team? Will they buckle under this sort of pressure in this game? Maybe not. Like, you look at the Ulster draw as well, it looks like they're going to get to an Ulster final, or whoever gets through this Derry final will. So, like, they probably won't face a big team, a really big team, until the Ulster final. So maybe that could be an advantage for them going in an All-Ireland run. But in terms of this game, you have to back Watty Graham's Glen, don't you? Like, Emmett Bradley didn't play in inter-county much this season. He's going to be fully refreshed. You even have Danny Talon, didn't play inter-county this year, fully refreshed. Ethan Doherty, very good player. Like, obviously Conor Glass does well in these sort of games in tight pitches. There's question mark about Conor Glass is really how he performs in Croke Park, but they'll get to that stage eventually. Kieran McFaul, actually, at centre back, is a quite interesting pick, but you'd wonder, is he there just to have that balance of the team between good players? Like, you have McFaul at centre back, you have Conor Glass there, you have Ethan Doherty in the half-forward line, so maybe that balance could be good for Watty Graham's Glen going forward. But in terms of this final, I think Watty Graham's Glen are going to win this game. And I think pretty comprehensively, I'd be confident in that prediction.
Yeah, no, I do agree with you. As for the All-Ireland favourites, when was that bet set, the betting odds?
I'm not sure. I just checked it, I think, a week ago. And
okay, well, I'd be surprised if it's still the same, because the way Croke swept aside Bowden was a statement. Like, the way they so easily put them away. Shane Walsh's goal was like a, whoa, these guys are good. I'd be interested in it, and the point, I get your point about not playing anyone until you get to the Ulster final, but Kilmacud Crokes are in Leinster. I don't see them playing anybody who can come near them until they get to the All-Ireland semi-final, if I'm being brutally honest. So it'll be interesting to see how each side kind of manages their squad going up to the All-Ireland semi-finals and finals, especially the favourites. But Luke, yeah, I'm agreeing with Matthew. I think safe to say I'm going with Watty Graham's Glen to take this. I think that they are the dominant team in Derry now, and I think they'll cap that off with another Derry title. Do you see Maherfeld standing in their way?
Yeah, no, look, I think you summed up pretty well. I don't think this is be the day that Glen are going to lose anyway. I think they'll get through this anyway. I think most people think they're on the collision course with Kilcoo again, and I think a lot of the stuff with the press around Kilcoo, I think everybody wants to see them play in Ulster. I think with the way the whole Kilcoo narrative, how it's been, I think we'd all love to see Kilcoo play the Glen in an Ulster final. And yeah, that would just really be kind of cap off a Munster, the Ulster Championship quite nicely, I think, if that was the final we got. I think you're looking at it as well, like, I think, yeah, that's the thing, is when it comes up to Croke Park, I think it's the same thing. To briefly touch on the All-Ireland odds, I still do think that when you get to come up to the All-Ireland final, the Galway champions seem to always flourish. If they get to Croke Park, Kilmacud are going to flourish when they get to Croke Park. The Ulster teams sometimes do kind of don't have the same form that they've shown on the provincial pitches, maybe when they get up there too. So that's why I would always be leaning towards, like, I'd be looking at it now and I'd be saying Crokes and Currafin are my current teams that I'd be looking at the moment.
Well, it's Currafin against Moycullen.
Yeah, and like, that's what I'd be currently thinking at the moment. Kilcoo as well, I think are a better fit for Croke Park than the Glen too, if you look at their forwards, and I think they've just a bit more pace up in the forward line too, better on the bigger pitch, I think, as well. I think in the Croke Park situation, I think Kilcoo would be ahead of them, but it's a matter of whether they get there too. I don't want to look too far ahead of this weekend. I know there's a county final to get through as well, but look, based on the players that we've seen as well, I'd be similar to Matthew's prediction. I'd be surprised if they if this is within 5 or 6. I think it'll be a little more than that, I'd say. And now look, I think the Glen are going to come out on top anyway. And it does set up Ulster nicely. And I think it's a good point though as well, is that, like, they're the favourites to get there, but there's some nice teams up in Ulster as well. Like, you even look at teams like Derry, Gonley, Harps, who come out of Fermanagh. They know how to win games up in Ulster. There's some serious teams up there that like they know how to win Ulster Championship games. You look up in Donegal as well, was it Dave Connell that came through as well, another decent side up there too, TYRONE champions as well. There's good teams up in Ulster, so yeah, they'll have a much tougher route to the final as in comparison to, for instance, say Connacht teams or Leinster teams. But like, lads, I'm gonna have to check out here now as well. I'm gonna have to run. I'll leave you on that prediction, but I'm pretty confident with.
No problem at all, Luke. Take care. All right, we'll carry on.
That's right.
Right, so
and just to jump in as well, about a few things. Castlehaven actually won 5 Cork championships, so that's wrong on my part. I thought they won 2, but 2 in recent memory would be the right word for that. And actually, the club odds, I just searched it there, and you're right, Séamus, Kilmacud have jumped us. They're 2-1 to win it. Watty Graham Glen are 4-1. Moycullen are actually third with 7-1. Dingle are fourth with 11-1, which is quite a surprise after their 10-point defeat last weekend. So there are the odds. They're on Paddy Power if anybody wants to look at them. But don't forget, I'll stress this as well, bet responsibly.
Yeah, no, the fact that Dingle are ahead of Kilcoo is very interesting in the betting odds anyway. They're ahead of Kilcoo and they're ahead of Corofin. It's an interesting one that they are, considering they haven't got there in a long time, whereas 2 teams that have literally won the All-Ireland Club Championship in the last 5 years are behind them. So it's interesting to see. We'll carry on from that and we'll go on to the Galway Senior Hurling Final. So this is Turlough against St. Thomas's. Now, again, this is another one where you've got a dynasty there in St. Thomas's, the team that have been on top in Galway for a long time, coming up against a side looking to knock them off their perch. Loughrea came almighty close to doing that last year. Can Turlough do it this year?
The thing is, and the ironic thing about it is that Turlough actually beat Loughrea in the semi-final by 3 points. So, look, it's going to be very interesting to see how Turlough, win well, I could say Connacht Championship, because this is effectively the Connacht Championship, isn't it? The Galway Hurling Championship, because Mayo, Roscommon, Sligo, they're just not good at hurling, are they? But you look at Turlough, Conor Walsh at number 10, 12 points in the last game. Very good performance from him. Sean Lennon at midfield is a very good player and definitely worth keeping an eye on it. Midfield for Turlough at the weekend. Tom Quirk scored a goal against Loughrea in the semi-final as well. So, like, they do have players to try and get them over the line. I think that's Dahi Burke or David Burke or whoever at centre-back as well. So they do have some excellent players, Turlough, and they definitely have the capabilities to get at this St. Thomas's team. But as you mentioned there, Séamus, St. Thomas have a dynasty there and they don't want to let that go. They don't want to let a Connacht Championship go. What will worry about St. Thomas is not this game in particular. I think St. Thomas will eventually win it. But what would worry me about them is in the All-Ireland semi-final, they'll go in undercooked. And the way it's going this year is that St. Thomas's will, or the Galway champions, whoever it is this Sunday, will come up against the Munster champions in the semi-final. That could be Ballygunner or Patrickswell. So that would be the worry for St. Thomas's, really, that they won't get a very competitive game from this Turlough game until the All-Ireland semi-final. And that's going to be the big concern, I'd imagine, for St. Thomas's. The players to watch at the weekend, obviously Conor Cooley, 114 at the semi-final, which was a good score from him. You have David Burke is on this team. Dahi Burke's on Turlough. Aina Burke scored 2 points from full forward. Victor Manso with 1 point in the last game. So they do have good players, St. Thomas's, but what would worry me about them going to the Ireland semi-final is the amount of game time.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And like, you look at it at the same time, last year getting knocked out by Dunloy in the All-Ireland semi-final, like, in my opinion, that was a clear indicator that they didn't get enough competition. And then when they got one team that didn't fold in Croke Park, they weren't sure what to do. And I look, Loughrea put it up to them, but the break in between really did harm them. But I am going to go with St. Thomas's to retain. I do think that they just have a dynasty there. They're used to getting over the line in finals, and I predict them to do it again. Now, are you going the same, or are you going with Turlough to turn them over?
No, Thomas's. Obvious. It's the same as Watty Graham Glen, and I think it's an obvious prediction, really.
All right, interesting. I think it will be tight, but especially when you consider some of the players that Turlough have, Dahi Burke especially, I think it will be tight, but I do think that Thomas's will go and take it. And so we're on the same page there. We will be on the same page with this one. Kilkenny Senior Hurling Final. Ballyhale Shamrocks, the reigning Kilkenny and indeed Leinster and All-Ireland Club champions. They're going up against O'Loughlin Gales. And myself and Luke were saying this, and Aaron and me said it too. Ballyhale Shamrocks, here's the tricky one. They've already had their dodgy performance. Every year, Ballyhale Shamrocks have a performance where they nearly get caught, nearly get beaten. They already had that in the quarterfinal, and they managed to get over the line. When they looked in real trouble, they still managed to get over the line. And then in the semi-final, they really put James Stephens to the sword. And now into the final against O'Loughlin Gales. Even though O'Loughlin Gales have the likes of Hugh Lawler, who's an absolutely ridiculous hurler, Ballyhale are just too strong, and I can't see them overturning them.
Really not. So I think Ballyhale will probably win this easily, but a bit of hope for O'Loughlin Gales. They beat Bennett's Bridge in the semi-final by 316 to 22 points. And guess who beat Ballyhale in the group stage? Bennett's Bridge. So by that logic, they should win this game, right? But enough about the jokes there. But as you mentioned there, Hugh Lawler, excellent hurler. Paddy Deegan at centre back scored 2 points in the semi-final as well. He's an excellent hurler too. Scored that goal in the All-Ireland final, of course. Owen O'Shea, I've heard good things about him. Owen Wall scored 2 crucial goals in the semi-final to get them over the line. So he'll be definitely one to watch as a corner forward. You have Mark Borg scored 7 points in the last game, but obviously they're coming up against a shark here, Ballyhale Shamrocks. They beat James Stephens 5-19 to 14 points in the semi-final. That's scary. That is just utterly scary. The way they dismantled them, Colin Fennigan 2 goals, Owen Cody. Even Owen Cody only scored 1-1 in this game, and they still scored 5-19. You know, that just epitomises how much talent they have. Like that half forward line. Let's read the half forward line from the game against James Stephens for a bit. Adrian Mullen, TJ Reid, Owen Cody. That's an inter-county half forward line.
Yeah.
That's scary.
It is.
It is, yeah. And that's the obvious truth of it. You look at like Richie Reid at centre back, Mullen at wing back, Evan Shefflin, another excellent player at wing back, Dean Mason in goal, Colin Finlay at full forward. Like, my God, it's an incredible team. And you wouldn't put it past Ballyhale to go on another All-Ireland run, to be honest with you. O'Loughlin Gales have a chance. They always have a chance to turn them over, especially after beating Bennett's Bridge in the semi-final, which could have been considered quite a shock. But I would say Ballyhale have more than enough firepower to get over the line, especially the way they dismantled Stephens in the semi-final.
Yeah, no, I agree. I genuinely think that when you look at Ballyhale Shamrocks' team, it looks like a team that Kilkenny would play in the league. Like a sprinkle of their top players with a few lads making the breakthrough, like the likes of Joey Cudahy and Dara Corcoran and Evan Shefflin and Paddy Mullen and all these guys. Like, these are all guys that have got runs out for Kilkenny in the league and in championship and stuff like that, but just not quite nailed down a place. They've got Joey Holden, Colin Fenley, Dean Mason, all with the Kilkenny experience. Darren Mullen did an incredible job on Desi Hutchinson in the final, right up until obviously the goal came. Like, they are unbelievably good, and I can't see anybody stopping them. And I do genuinely mean I can't see anybody stopping them. If Ballyhale get out of Leinster, which I think they will, I think Na Fianna are the only team who maybe on a once-off could put it up to them in Leinster. But I think once they get out of Leinster, they'll be very hard to stop. And the fact is, they're going to come up against the Ulster champions. They'll get into the final, and then they'll be there against one of the Munster champions or the Connacht champions. So after this game, they will have a couple of easy ones in Leinster, you would imagine. Maybe a tough one against Na Fianna or Bowden, but then I'd still tip them to win that. And then, you know, they'll play most likely Rory O, Cushendall or Slough-Neil in the semi-final, probably win that, and then they're into the final. So it's one of those where it's really difficult. You'd be a brave man to bet against Ballyhale Shamrocks winning the whole thing from here, but I definitely predict them to win the Kilkenny Hurling Championship anyway on the weekend. Now, we have 3 more football finals left and 1 more hurling final left. And 2 of the football finals anyway, we can, you know, are going to be crackers. Mayo Senior Football Final is Ballina Stephenites against Brafey. And obviously Brafey, when we were speaking about Patrick Swell, I think Brafey are a similar example, that they've had a bit of a golden crop there with the O'Shea brothers, Robbie Henley, Matthew Ruan. Ironically, Robbie Henley isn't involved this year. He's gone to Raheny in County Dublin. Ballina Stephenites, on the other hand, Evan Regan is the main man, and Pádraig O'Hara is the main man at the back. They've come into this final looking pretty strong. Conor McStay also looks good for them. It's a difficult one to call. Who are you leaning to?
It is a really difficult one. Like Ballina, like they lost the final as far as I know last year against Westport, so they'll be out for revenge in this. They really will. Like Evan Regan, he's probably a player that you were disappointed that he didn't kick on in Mayo. Like I think he scored 6 points in that semi-final, which was an incredible tally, and he definitely will be one to watch. Padraig O'Hora, obviously in the defence, is a key player for them. The way they beat Knockmore in that semi-final, 10 points to 7, was very, very good, very impressive. Like you still have Conor McStay, as you mentioned there, in the corner. Like Jack Irwin actually, well, Frank Irwin was midfield, but Jack got sent off in the semi-final, so I think he might be suspended for this. So that's a big loss for Ballina Stephenoids. You look at Sam Callna, centre back, is a very good player. Like David Clark in goal, of course, a leader. So Ballina definitely have the leadership and the talent to go on and win this. But Bravey, as far as I know, I don't think they've ever won a Mayo Championship. And this is one of the years where you're thinking they have to go on and win it now. They really do. I know Robbie Henley's missing, but they still have some excellent players. Aidan O'Shea carries on his form from Mayo. He did decent enough. I know in the quarterfinal against Dublin he was poor enough, but all throughout the season he was very, very good. He scores 4 points in the semi-final to get them over the line against Castle. Bar Mitchells, you have David Leary scoring a goal. Oisin Tunney had a very good game. You have Michael Hall at centre back. Matthew Ran is a key player at midfield. If Ballina could stop him, I think they'll go a long way to stopping Aidan O'Shea, considering the ball that needs to go into him for him to score. You have Conor O'Shea in midfield. I don't know if Séamus O'Shea around the panel or is he on the management team, but if he is, that's a key player to have in the dressing room to get them over the line. But Ballina are just very, very good once it comes to finals, and Bravey aren't really. And it's the same situation as Bowden and Nafina. It's the same situation as the Haven and Nemo. This is the exact same. Like Bravey need to go on and win this final now. Like Ballina have the experience. It's a really tight one to call. But at the same time, Bravey, let's not forget, they beat the county champions in Westport in the quarter-final. Shockingly, maybe, to some people's eyes. But this is going to be a difficult game for Ballina. For the fairy tale that's in it, for Aidan O'Shea, I'm going to go Bravey to win it. I'm going to go Bravey to win this game, but it will be incredibly tight from first to last whistle.
Yeah, like it's one of those things that I think my heart might be overruling my head. I want Bravey to win it. I'm just going to be honest. I want Bravey to win it because I've never seen a player get more unnecessary abuse than Aidan O'Shea. And I think he deserves a county championship medal as much as anybody does. So I am going to lean towards them, but if I was to put my life on it, I would say Ballina. So it's difficult to know, but I will go with the jugular. I will go with Bravey to take it. Now, the last hurling final that's on the weekend. It's not the last one in terms of time it's on. It is on Sunday. It's the Tipperary Senior Hurling Final replay. Killadangan against Turles Sarsfields. Now, this is the only hurling final which we actually have seen the two of them square off already in the hurling final. So we have a good bit of intel there. Obviously, Killadangan champions in 2020, Turles Sarsfields champions in the late 2010s with a huge amount of talent there. They've got Ronan Marr, they've got the Stakelums. Like, on paper, you would look at them and say, well, they should probably take it, right? But Killadangan really had them on the ropes for a bit, and then the game goes to a replay. How are you kind of thinking about this one?
Interesting. This will be the third time that they meet in the Tipperary Hurling Championship this year. Like Turles Sarsfields actually lost the first day to Killadangan 223 to 117. So Killadangan know how to beat them. But at the same time, I'm living in Tipperary at the moment. So I'm living in Nina near Turles. So I know a small bit about Tipperary hurling this year more than any other year. And I'm talking to Tipperary people and they're saying that Turles Sarsfields didn't have their main players out in that Killadangan game, which they lost on the first day out. So maybe now that they have their key players here, maybe it'll be enough to get them over the line, and they know what it takes to get over the line against Killadangan. Like, they can't go 3 games in a hurling championship without beating Killadangan, really, with the talent that they have in the team. I watched Turles Sarsfields in a game against Borrisolea, and I thought they were very, very good. Very good, very impressive. Aidan McCormack there on the freeze. Dar Stakelum, I don't know sure what he scored in the actual final, the drawn final, but before that he scored 121 from play. He's definitely a key player for them. You have Stephen Cahill, Ronan Marr, Conor Stakelum, Dar's brother, as far as I can gather, maybe he's his cousin, same surname, so you never know. Paddy Creedon hasn't scored much in this championship, but he's a guy that maybe could fire in this final. He's definitely a player for Tipperary underage. Fans will know in the past that he's an incredible hurler, and it only takes 1 game for him to fire into the back of the net, and he will be a player to watch for Turles Sarsfields. On the other side, though, Killadangan have Billy Seymour. He's an excellent hurler himself. Like, he's definitely going to be key for them. Paul Flynn, excellent hurler. Sean Hayes, Alan Flynn, Dan O'Mara. They have some very good players, and they always have this tendency to get over the line no matter what. And as far as I can gather here, they're beaten in the Tipperary Hurling Championship. They've beaten sides like Tour Sarces themselves, Borrisalea, Clonouty, Rossmore, Holy Cross, and Tumavara. So that's some group of teams there to beat. So it's going to be a tough one to call. It really is. For the players alone, I have to go for Turtle Sarsfields. And considering this will be the third time they meet, Turtle Sarsfields having won a championship game against Killadagga this year, I think this might be the day this Sunday. So I'm going to go for Turtle Sarsfields to win the replay.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's Turtle Sarsfield's time. I think third time lucky, they get the job done against Killadagga. Now, 2 football finals left to go. We've got the Tyrone Senior Football Final, the most competitive championship in the country, in my opinion. Trillick against Errigal Kieran. Errigal Kieran are the champions last year, and I said them right from the start to retain their title. I said that they look as capable of creating a dynasty, more capable of creating a dynasty in Tyrone than any club that I've seen since I started paying attention to it around the early 2010s, mid 2010s. So Trillick against them. I do think that Trillick, it's kind of fitting that it is them in the final, because I did think if anyone can stop them, it's probably either Trillick or Ardbow. But seeing how the Ardbow got smashed to bits on their route here, it is difficult to go against Errigal Kieran. It really, really is. The Canavans, you've got Peter Hart there and looks as good as he ever has. Can Trillick stop Errigal Kieran?
What Trillick do have is heart and desire. I will say that. Look at their previous 3 games at the Tyrone Championship. They beat Loch McCroy on a penalty shootout. They beat Eton York with a last bit of point through Lee Brennan. And they comprehensively beat Dungannon in the semi-final as well. And Dungannon obviously won the COVID Championship in 2020. So like, they're a very good side themselves. And what I will say about Trillick as well, they're without their big key talisman in Matty Donnelly this year. And to reach a final without him, that's incredible really from Trillick, and fair play to them for that. But as you mentioned there, Errigal Kieran, Dara Canavan, Tommy Canavan, Rory Canavan, and you could just name the Canavan name there. Joe Goose has been a player that I've really watched over the last few years in the interest. He's a very, very good player for Borough midfielder, wing forward. Peter Hart, obviously experienced. Aidan McCrory, another experienced player. Ben McDonald, Cormac Quinn. They have excellent players all over the field. And the way they got to the final, they beat Killyclogher by 8 points. They beat Moortown by 8 points. And they absolutely dismantled Arbo in the semi-final by 18. So they're a hard team to stop. They really are. You probably say Errigal Kieran to go on and win it. But I think, like Donald Burke with the Fina, wouldn't it be ironic for Trillick to win this championship without the influence of Matty Donnelly? It really would. If they were to do it, it'd be incredible. But I just feel that Errigal Kieran have that extra edge to get them over the line.
Yeah, I agree. And now, on to the final one, the Waterford Senior Football Final, the Nair versus Rathgormack. And this one, Rathgormack have lost in the last 2 finals to the Nair. So, I mean, I am leaning towards the Nair. They have been the dominant force in the Waterford Football Championship for the last few seasons. Do you see Rathgormack being able to stop them this time?
Look, you look at the players on paper, like we talked about Castlehaven against Nemo earlier on, and Castlehaven clearly have better players than Nemo. You look at Rathgormack's team actually over the Denair, and Rathgormack actually have considerably more inter-county players than Denair do. I know Denair have players like Jamie Barron and Conor Gleeson who would normally play football for Waterford. They never would have been in years. They do obviously play hurling. But you look at Rathgormack's team, Jason Curry, Conor Murray, Gleeson, Billy Powers, another Waterford hurler. He's midfield for Rathgormack. Like, they have excellent players all over the field, really, and obviously Paddy Hunt in goal is another experienced campaigner for Rathgormack. Like, Conor Murray, he has to be on form. He really does. So does Jason Curry. Them 2 players in particular really have to be on form for Rathgormack to get over the line. History would probably point towards Denair to go on and win this game, but am I going to go for the shock here? I'm probably not brave enough to do it. I think Denair will get over the line. And like, if Denair do get over the line, I think they'll be probably a force in the Munster Championship. Like, they'll face off either Castlehaven, Nemo, or Cratloe in the semi-final in Munster. So, like, if Cratloe get through that, they'll definitely fancy their chances in the semi-final if they are to get over the line. And then just before I end, like, Denair have Sean O'Mara, I think his name is, with 10 points in the last game. He's definitely or Shane O'Mara, should I say, 10 points in the last game. He's a very, very good player and will be one to watch at the weekend for Denier.
Yeah, no, without doubt. And I feel like they will back themselves going into that. But yeah, that's the preview of the whole weekend of action that is upon us next weekend. Make sure you tune into all those games. There's plenty live. Matthew, give his account a follow, Gaelic Statsman, on Instagram. He will let you know, I'm sure, what games are live on TV across the weekend. Matthew, thanks very much for coming on for another episode here with us. Thanks anybody who tuned in over the course of the hour. Until the next one, guys, here on Cluiche. Take care.